TNT Hoops.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? We got a real important guy right now. He's over here making super teams like LeBron. We got Coach Anthony, District Athletic Director, in the building today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here. You know, I don't really do too many interviews because I like to remain in the shadows. I don't really like attention, but when you talked to me about this, I was coming here to do this with you.
Okay, I appreciate it. I know a little bit about you because I'm pretty new still into the basketball game. But when I came in, you was coach at Manassas. So just kind of give the people that don't know too much about you, just kind of give us your background.
My background is I grew up in North Memphis, not too far from Manassas. From the house I grew up at, you could basically almost throw a rock from my house and hit Manassas High School. So growing up as a kid, I always loved Manassas. My entire family went to Manassas. Uncles, cousins, parents, like everyone went to Manassas. So as a kid, growing up, I attended basketball games, football games, things like that. And even as a young child, I was a water boy because I didn't want to. Like, my mom didn't go to all those games, but I had to go to the games, so I had to figure out a way to get to the game. So I was a water boy as a kid. But during that time, I just built up a love for, like, Manassas High School and the community, and watching different family members succeed from Manassas and things like that. And I built up a love for it, you know, during that time. And I went to Manassas, was a football player at Manassas, played some basketball and some other things in junior high. But when I got to high school, I decided that I was always a big guy. You know, There ain't too many 5'10", 5'11", you know, guys, you know, going off the big guys, going off the college to play, you know, guards. I'm 5'10", 5'11", and around that time I was probably 260 pounds, so I'm not going to college to play this. So let me focus on football at this time. So that's what I did. I focused primarily on football. I was captain of the football team, 11th grade and 12th grade.
Okay.
I was captain of the football team during that time. We weren't that good. Lost a lot of games.
Okay.
I'm afraid to even say how many we won during that time.
Okay.
But yeah, it was rough. So I would say that those were the real early years of Manassas, pre the time with me becoming a coach at Manassas.
Okay. So how long was you coaching at Manassas? Like the basketball? Did you coach both sports or just basketball?
No, actually starting off at Manassas, the first sport I coached at Manassas at age 20 at Manassas was football.
Okay.
The head coach at the time was from the community, a guy by the name of Danny Pogue.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in my family and himself and his family, they were friends at the time. And my younger brother was a standout football player, and he was playing for the coach. So I was coming back wanting to volunteer to be able to help my brother because, hey, I played at Manassas, and that was my first love, football, going on at Manassas. So I started off coaching football at Manassas at age 20, and right after football season in 2001, that's when I met my goddad, Coach Gerald Harris. That's when I met him, and he saw the work that I was doing and the dedication that I had with the football team, and he asked me could I assist him with basketball.
Okay. So basically, your first love was football, but you won rings with basketball.
Yeah, won state championship rings, city championship rings also in basketball. The difference in those two situations, I would say, is the connection I had with Coach Gerald Harris. He is the father figure to me, and I believe, me personally, I believe no one knows Coach Harris better than me except for his wife and maybe his daughter and his mother.
Yeah.
But I believe when it comes to Coach Harris, I probably know him better than anyone. We think alike, and we have a very weird connection. If he was sitting here right now, and while I'm talking to you, he probably could open his mouth and tell you exactly what I'm about to say. And vice versa in the situation with him when dealing with him and dealing with children and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a weird connection. Like, I don't know how we developed this, but we know each other so in depth, and I like know what he's about to say. I know what he's thinking in certain situations, and vice versa. He knows the same thing, about me. So the bond that me and Coach Harris has, I mean, it'll never be broken. That's my father, Coach Harris.
Okay. Cause I thought, I went to Central. What was that? What year did he transfer? Cause I had Trey Payne went to Central.
Yeah, Trey Payne.
And he transferred
in 2007.
Yeah.
Yes, he transferred to Memphis in 2007.
And y'all win? Y'all won that year.
We went to 2007, 2008 school year. It's the year we basically had 15 guys that could play basketball. We had 15 varsity, like legit, no scrubs.
Yeah.
15 all could play in 2007, 2008 school year. But sometimes I believe in certain situations you can have too much. What happened that school year is we got Trey Payne over. We had another really good point guard, and his name was Derek Richards. They called him Lil Doc.
Okay.
He transferred in from Westside after Westside closed.
Okay.
The Trey Payne was more of a pass first point guard. Myself and along with Coach Harris and Trey Payne starting off, he was a better fit at our starting point guard with us having so much talent because Derek Richards was a point guard, but he was more of a scorer at that time. We talking about coming up around the time with Allen Iverson and all these guys. He's more of a scorer at that time coming up, and we just felt like Trey Payne was the better fit because with the talent that we had, Trey was going to get everybody involved. And it was best to bring Derek Richards, Lil Doc, off the bench because we didn't have to handcuff him in that situation. If we bring you off the bench with a couple of these guys, even though they varsity starters too, but I mean, you can go to work. You can come in and be aggressive offensively. You don't have to worry about the other guys on the court with them not playing defense because they feel like they're not getting enough touches and things like that. I mean, basically, he's going to come in and do his thing. He's going to come in and be allowed to do what he's always done his whole life, and that was to score. When the problem came in, and I'm going to be, I don't talk about this much, but we're going to be 100% honest about the situation. Later on in the school year, we had 6'9" Reginald Buckner.
Okay.
Reginald Buckner, he started to blow up, started to get a lot of attention because he's 6'9" and he's dunking on folks. He can handle the ball. He's averaging like 5-6 block shots a game. So he started getting a lot of attention from college coaches. He started getting a lot of attention from the media. And I think it kind of drew resentment within the team. So once we got to the state, they played together for the most part and things like that. But when it came down to it, I think a lot of the focus in the locker room was on, okay, who's going to make all-state team? Okay, who's going to get state tournament MVP? Instead of, let's go win this state championship. Reggie was a Mr. Basketball finalist at that time also. Like I said, he was getting a lot of different attention. So when it came down to us in the championship game, we started off playing together. We were up 17 points at halftime on Union City, but Union City was undefeated. We also told the players in the halftime, hey, we up 17, but they've been down 17-20 at halftime before this season, but they hadn't lost the game. So let's not think we're going to come back out here and we just going to blow them out like they're not going to fight back. They've been in this situation plenty of times this season. They're going to keep fighting. So instead of taking heed to that and listening to that, we came back out in the second half and we was focused on self. We had guys not want to pass the open man the ball, and a lot of different things transpired. And Union City walked us down. The game plan was, they had a really good player, MJ Brown. He was going to the University of Knoxville at that time. Okay. He was the guard. And the game plan was simply, we're going to play MJ Brown one-on-one. We're not going to double team him. We're not going to face guard or anything. We're going to play him one-on-one because we're going to score probably 80 points. He's not going to score 80, but Union City was deadly at that time because MJ Brown would get you 40, and then when you helped out, he was finding all the open guys. So that's how the points was balancing out, and Union City was winning games. So we're not going to let the other guys get off. We're going to play him straight up, tough defense, But whatever he gets, at that time, he's going to get it or whatever. It's hard to stop. But the guys around him, we going to shut them down. They stopped buying into everything, and everyone was focused on self. Everyone was focused on, I'm going to go trap. We're going to get a turnover so we can get the layup. Everybody was focused on points at that time. So even though we were loaded, we did fall apart at the end that year. And, we ended up losing the state championship game in 2008 by 2 points at the end. I didn't come outside for I know the first 3 days when I got home for sure. I just I was depressed, man. I went through a deep depression about losing that state chip the way we lost it, and to lose it by 2 points like that in the end. I went through a deep depression. I took that really hard.
Ooh.
Really hard.
I think any coach, especially with you telling how much you love the game and especially that school, I can imagine it. So after with that squad, so what was the next? Was it the recently big three that y'all kind of had that was about 2 or 3 years ago?
No, it was the next year.
That was the next year?
It was the very next year. What happened was with our team, mostly all of the players on the 2007-2008 team with Trey Payne and Doc Richards and Eric Axon, Sean Kearney, Roy McFadden, all of those guys were seniors. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the guys, when I told you we had 15 players, a lot of those guys were juniors and sophomores on the bench. Okay. Which they still, got minutes that year, but, the seniors got a lot of minutes. But the difference between those teams, we didn't have 15 guys. Okay. We had 15 guys dressed, but I would say as far as real players, we may have had 8 or 9. Okay. But the difference between 2018 state runner-up and 2019 that won the state championship is the 2019 was a brotherhood. They come up together from 9th grade, started off in the freshman league, started off in the JV leagues, and all those guys, they respected Reginald Buckner as the man. He was returning. He was a junior off the 2008 squad. So all them respected Reginald Buckner as the man. We're going to play off.
So he was a sophomore?
He was a junior when we lost the state. He was a junior.
Okay. He was a junior.
So he was returning. And there is a backstory to that also, because after we lost the state championship, you had a lot of coaches in the city. I won't call the names, but I would say the schools. If you go back and you figure out who the head coach was at Melrose in 2008, 2009, then you'll have an idea who I'm referring to. If you go back and figure out who was the head coach at Craigmont, riding around this kid's house, looking for him and stuff like that around the same time, 2008, 2009, and then you'll know who I'm referring to. But you had a lot of coaches around the city and some AAU coaches telling Reginald Buckner, man, y'all lost. Because we did. We lost a lot off that team. Y'all lost everything. You can't get back to state with them. That was your last chance, your last opportunity. You're not going to win state. You was a Mr. Basketball finalist. And we talking about at Manassas now. It's tough to be a Mr. Basketball finalist at Manassas, because politics go along with the Mr. Basketball stuff a lot. But we worked hard to get Reginald Buckner on that list as a junior. And as a senior, he actually won the Mr. Basketball his final year. But getting back to the question, that 2009 squad wasn't as talented, but they were a brotherhood. They argued and fighted and wrestled and played and everything. But when it came to the court, they were a brotherhood. They loved each other. They played together. All those guys was happy to see the other person do well. I mean, it was just a complete brotherhood with that 2019. Another difference between 2008 was, in 2009 state team, was in 2008, I really believe that team had one gear. Like, in 2008, we was going to beat you by 30. Like, they was going to run through you. They was going to run through you in 2008. But if a team slowed us down, you had so many players, you got so many guys need touches, so many guys that need shots. So if a team slowed us down and limited our possessions, you had guys forcing shots, start getting frustrated and things like that. So you could beat us. That team went, I think the record was 34-5 in 2008. But like I say, 30 of those teams, we probably ran straight through them, probably hammered them. That year, Jermaine Johnson was the head coach at Melrose in 2008. He had Adonis Thomas, Chris Jones, and a few more like other studs. And they played us at Manassas, and we were the favorite to beat that team because we was loaded at that time. But in the third quarter, they was up 26 points on us in the third quarter. Adonis and Chris Jones, they was playing out of their minds. But I don't know why, but just for some reason, I just felt like we was going to win. Okay. And that same squad I'm telling you about that was hammering everybody by 30, they just, like, we've been fussing the whole game, but they just hit the switch on their own. We walked Melrose down 26 in the third quarter, and we ended up winning the game by a layup at the buzzer, to beat that team. That's the type of team that was. Now, in 2009, the team that actually won the state, they didn't care how they had to get the win. They can play slow. They can play fast. Okay. They can throw it inside to the big fella, Reggie Buckner, and kick it back out and knock down shots. They don't care if you play man or if you play zone. Like, we got something for all of this in 2009. In 2009, team that actually won the whole thing. Because, they were going to play together. Egos were in check. And I don't care if they fuss, fight, or whatever. When it came down to it, all those guys loved each other and had each other's back. There was no jealousy or anything like that in the team that actually won the state championship versus the team before that was more talented.
Okay. And then, what was the year, not the year after that, what was the year, that's kind of when I was starting, was it 18, around the 18, 17, that was kind of the little, had that little extra stuff going on.
Yeah, but let's go to 14 first, though. Let's go to 14 first. 14, we made it back to the state tournament in 2014. That was our third time making it in 2014. We had a really good team that year. That year, I think we won 26 regular season games. Made it to the state tournament. That's when LeGerald Vick was at Douglas. That was our rivalry when we had to play Douglas. They had LeGerald Vick. And they had a kid, his last name was Williams. I keep forgetting his first name. It might have been Jimmy. I keep forgetting his first name. But I actually helped the other kid that played with LeGerald Vick. I actually helped him get in college. He went to a junior college in Texas. Okay. But that year, we went to the state in 2014. We had Rayford Albright, Courtney Smith, Deshaun Bell. Rayford Albright actually works at Manassas right now. He's one of the coaches at Manassas.
That's he's a short guy.
Yeah, short guy. He was really good. Short guy.
He's still hooping now.
Yeah, he still play. I think he got his braids back.
I recorded. Yeah. I recorded him one time. I recorded him recently. Yeah.
Rayford Albright was our lead guy at that time. We had Courtney Smith. We had a kid named Deshaun Bell. Deshaun Bell was the only transfer we had. He was a big man that came in from Raleigh, Egypt that year. But we made it back to the state tournament that year. That was our third year. And we lost to Jackson Southside. They had a kid by the name, I think it was Jalen Barford. And he ended up playing at the University of Arkansas Fayetteville for the Razorbacks. But they beat us first round of the state tournament, and that was the team to win the state championship that year. So I really feel like even that year, we were probably the second best team. We just had to face Jackson Southside first round. Okay. If we were opposite side of the brackets, I strongly feel like we would have met Jackson Southside in the state championship game that year in 2014.
Okay.
So going over into what you asked me, what you was talking about the year 2016, well, we had 2014. Yeah, 2016. Okay. 2016 because when we went to the state in 2014, those guys were freshmen. You referring to the guys in 2016 that transferred out to another school? Was that what you were referring to?
No, I was talking about the other, not them guys, the one after them.
Okay, the 2019 crew. Yeah, the 2019 crew. In 2014, when we made the state, we had a really loaded team, a lot of young guys on that team also, but we had about 6 freshmen. No, 4. We had 4 freshmen that were on varsity that year, and they were really good. Really good. It was really good. It was really able to help us in different key moments in games and stuff like that. And the year after that, their roles increased, but their junior year in 2016, those guys transferred out with the parent. We had a parent on staff that was assistant coach at that time. They transferred out to another school and took those 4 guys, and then they ended up taking 2 more players. So they took 6 players off of our team that year. 6 players off our team in 2016. We came back in 2016. What other team in the city that you know of can lose 6 players that's contributing to a team, and then we still came back in 2016 with the other guys that was left over, worked hard, developed those guys, and was playing in the city championship in 2A that same year after losing those 6 guys. So we've been working hard, and we've been doing, a lot of different things, a lot of, special things. And it's all been about like hard work and dedication. Like a lot of people don't know, during that time, we may meet at the school and practice at 5 o'clock in the morning before school starts at 7:15. We start practice at 5 o'clock in the morning, stop practicing 6:45, let the guys hit the showers and stuff like that, get uniforms on. 7:15, they headed to class. I mean, we always was the type of coaches that we're going to think outside the box, and no other coaches during that time was going to outwork us when it came to stuff like that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So let me ask you this, cause like I said, like you kind of say with politics and with Manassas, at that time was Manassas just a popular school? Or did y'all just have kids in the community that just was hungry to win and work together?
I would say that when it comes to the most popular schools in the city, Manassas hadn't been one of those type of schools since maybe the 80s. Like the 80s was probably the last time during that run when Manassas was probably one of the most popular schools in the city. If Coach Harris was sitting here right now, he graduated in '83. He would probably say that they were still underdogs during that time also. Okay. But they were playing big schools during his era when he actually played at Manassas. They was beating big schools. But I would say in the 90s, around the time I came up at Manassas, I would say Manassas wasn't popular at all. It was popular in North Memphis, like you spoke of, with those kids, because most of the kids that went to Manassas only went to Manassas because other family members went to Manassas. Okay. Like it was a school for that community. If there wasn't like kids coming from everywhere at that time that I know of that was going to Manassas, everyone was from that area, so it was all homegrown within the community at around that time. So I would say no, it wasn't as popular during the time where we would, get a kid in from the outside or something like that. Those kids was basically coming based on our relationships with them. It wasn't about coming because Manassas was popular. It was about coming because, hey, I want to play with Coach Harris, or I want to play with, Coach Anthony, or different things of that magnitude.
Okay. So we talked about a couple of the championships you done won or done got close to also. So let's kind of flip it over to your son.
Yes.
Won a state title with Leicester.
Yes.
Gave Coach Steve did he only play? Did he play that first year or he played both years?
He came his 7th grade year, and that was when they really had to load the squad. His 7th grade year, okay. And my son broke his wrist in the growth plate the day before the first scrimmage of the season. He was at a skating party with some friends. My son, let me go tell you this now. My son probably plays harder than any kid I've ever been around in my life.
Oh, yeah,
and through basketball and things like that, and through him diving on the floors, taking charges, running into walls, he never gets injured. So he goes to a skating party the day before the season's about to start, and didn't even fall, that hard. Fell on the skate, on the skates and fell. Broke his wrist in the growth plate, and had to have basically emergency operation on his wrist and the growth plate that same night. That was probably one of the scariest moments in my life, to look at my son's wrist basically disfigured, at that point. And that was real tough on me. That was real tough on his mom at in that situation. But by the time they put that medicine in him before it was time to have surgery, he was in there smiling and happy at that point. But that was one of the toughest moments in my life. And yeah, that was his 7th grade year, and he sat out. Until Christmas. It started in October, and he sat out until Christmas. And the first game he played was in the Christmas tournament at Bartlett. I believe Lester was playing against Cordova that year when he was in 7th grade.
Okay.
And it was the first time my son checked in the game, and they swung the ball around to him, and he pulled up a deep 3. My son has not been known as a shooter, but they swung it around to him, and he pulled up a deep 3 and knocked it down. And like the teammate, my son probably was the only kid on that team that wasn't actually from the Binghamton community. But for those kids on that team to embrace my son coming in basically as an outsider, and wrap their arms around my son and show him love, along with the coaching staff, I will forever be grateful, for that. But he knocked down the 3, and the guys on the bench, they went wild for him. But it was a fun ride. But his 8th grade year was the year that he actually, played and got minutes and things like that. The year they won the state, he was an 8th grader on that team.
So how was what was his reaction? He pretty well at the time. I was new because I was following their whole playoff run. So he was kind of quiet, at least towards me. Pretty with the kids, I'm pretty sure he was loud, but it was kind of funny because his physique. I'm like,
right. You ought to see him now.
So I was like, man, this kid right here got more muscles than a grown person.
Right.
So it was pretty cool watching them win their first championship. And does he have any plans with sports now, or we gonna catch him on the field or something, or is he slow rolling it right now?
Before the pandemic hit, he was playing basketball, and his game was coming along. He was getting better. He was balancing the offensive side out because he's always been special on the defensive side of the ball. So he was balancing his offensive side out, and he was actually at Collegiate School of Memphis. He had been at Collegiate School of Memphis. Have developed a lot of bonds and friendships and things like that with Collegiate School of Memphis. He didn't want to leave his school, but at that time his school wasn't going to play a real school league team. They were playing maybe like some rec league games and things like that. And I talked to him about going to Manassas, and he wanted to come, but then the year he was going to come is the year that I actually left Manassas. So we did a co-op. Manassas did a co-op with his school for him, and he was on the Manassas. He was on junior varsity at Manassas at that time. That was his 9th grade year. He was on junior varsity playing at Manassas 9th grade year. His 10th grade year is kind of when the pandemic hit.
Okay.
His 10th grade year, and I may be one of the few. But during the pandemic, my oldest son, Adalis, and my baby boy, Alex, me and their mom, we held them out. They didn't play the entire pandemic. They sat out a total of about 14 months. They didn't play over the pandemic, and there are certain circumstances that made us not feel comfortable with letting our children play during that time. So they sat out, and they're kind of just getting back to playing and stuff recently.
Okay. All right, let's go. Now let's fast forward a little more. You getting into your last years of Manassas then, I think at the point. How much longer did you coach after that year? Your son won. Would you had about a year or two left, or one more year?
My last year in Manassas was the 2019 year. That was one of the years where you came out and you covered us a little bit. That was the last year we made it to state. Was in 2019. Yeah. We had the small point guard, which is my little blood cousin, Jaden Robinson. Me and his dad's first cousins. We had the left-handed wing number 2, Wendell Rogers, and we had the big guy down low, Thaddeus Moore, who was the Mr. Basketball finalist in 2019. So the 2019, that was our last run. City championship in 2019. We won regular season championship. We won the district tournament. We won the regional tournament. We won the sectionals, and we went to the state, and we ran into a team that wasn't really even supposed to be in single A with 1,000 kids under enrollment. But the way the TSSAA was doing it at that time, the schools were turning over every 4 years. So just say you're a principal, you're at a school, and you got 300 kids. So if you got 300 kids, you're automatically in 1A. So what if a school in your area just shut down and kids start coming to your school? So you're locked in single A for 4 years, locked in.
Okay.
But these other schools in your area done closed down, so all these kids are being forced to come to your school. So even though you locked in single A for 4 years, but you got 800 kids now.
Okay.
So technically, you're not a single A school anymore. You're approaching, you're a 2A for sure, but at 800, 900, close to 1,000 students, that's the way it was in 2019 on their way out the door. When the 4-year period was up, they was right at 1,000 students. The team we had Columbia Academy, the team we faced at that time, and I think the school has actually gone private now. I think they're in the private school division, but facing that school, no excuses about the loss. But like I said, it wasn't a single A school. It was a school that should have been in AAA at that time. But we did our due diligence. We scouted them. We watched a ton of film. We came up with a game plan, and we went to face them, but they was just better. And the same way, like when we played Jackson Southside the first game, we played them first game, and they ended up being the state champions that year also. So every time we've made it to state, we've either lost to the state champion or we've won it. One or the other.
Okay. So now with you being the district athletic director, kind of go about this process, because I mean you brought a couple of well-known guys. There's pretty good coaches around the scene. We could say Coach T, AJ. Who else you brought? You brought a
Coach Erica Woody.
Yeah, I was about to say you brought a girl coach
Yes.
in, Erica, and you brought in a real nice lineup just to kick off for the year. So was that already planned? Did you go to them? Did they come to you? Kind of like, what was your mindset in putting together that staff?
I would say that with us not having a middle school head basketball coach at the time, I was going to fill in until we found someone. But AJ was always in mind.
Okay.
AJ was always in mind, Coach AJ Thomas, as being the middle school coach. I didn't reach out to him because I wasn't sure if we were going to play, but he was always the option. He was always the guy that I wanted. Where can you find a guy that's willing to come to middle school, that's been a high school head coach at Wooddale at one point, that's been a high school assistant coach at Raleigh Egypt, that's been a high school assistant coach at Cordova for years? Where can you find a guy with that much experience who's willing to come back down to middle school and coach the younger kids and kind of start it back over again? Like getting AJ to come in and commit to coming in to do middle school, which basically develops the kids and feeds the high school team. I think it's a blessing to our program to get him in.
Plus, he's a very good trainer. So.
Very good trainer, because a lot of people actually talk about the recruitment, with coaches and things like that. But at Memphis Business Academy, we actually want to do it a little different, because we have a lot of students. We do have a large enrollment. So we actually want to develop a lot of our children that's in-house. We want to develop them. You got a lot of kids interested in basketball and things like that. And who better to come in and start developing these middle school kids than AJ Thomas?
Okay. So how did the Coach T part come
Coach,
Because you guys, y'all was kind of working together at Manassas at a point too, wasn't it?
Coach T, me and Coach T really started working when I was volunteering coaching basketball with Memphis Business Academy.
Okay.
You know, my younger son, Alex, who's in 8th grade this year, you know, he started, you know, playing basketball since he was 5 years old. And I was volunteer coaching back then with Memphis Business Academy, working with Javon Owens. And Coach T was coaching the kids, the age group ahead of me at that time. I was coaching the 2026 kids, and Coach T was coaching the 2025 kids at that time. So we would always, you know, go attend each other games and cheer for each other and things like that. Then Coach T ended up getting the middle school head coaching job. I think it was Raleigh Scholars or something like that at that time. You know, you still had Raleigh Egypt Middle. They moved to the high school. In the middle school building, you had a school, I believe it may have even been an ASD school. I think their name was Raleigh Scholars at that time. Okay. So Coach T was coaching that middle school team at that time. And I would attend games and watch them and stuff. And I liked his style of coaching. I liked his passion. I liked his dedication to the sport and things like that. And so I was, you know, always at Manassas. And so I went and met Coach T one day, and I invited him to come over and assist us at Manassas. And, you know, at first I believe he was a little hesitant because he was actually assistant coach at Mars for years. Okay. He was assistant coach at Mars before he came to Manassas, maybe about 4 years, you know, and he had relationships with players and things like that at Mars. We didn't, you know, get any players or anything like that to leave Mars. It was basically, we really wanted Coach T to come in, the same thing I just told you about AJ, to help develop, you know, these kids. And because I'm always stretched I've always been stretched in a million different ways. I omitted to tell you, at Manassas for maybe about 4 years, I was coaching with the boys and the girls for like 4 years. So I was always stretched, and I was looking for extra help to come in and assist me with different things in the development of kids and things like that. So I've known Coach T for years. And the situation at our school at Memphis Business Academy, a position opened up for the head coaching position opened up. And when the head coach position opened up, you know, Coach T was the first person that I thought about when that situation opened up. I've been knowing Coach T forever. He has a strong passion for the sport. And, I mean, I just think it's a fit. I think that I'm not going to do a lot of work, but Coach T has asked me to help him with a few small things. And I feel like that with us knowing each other for years and he assisting with us at Manassas, you know, that last year, I feel like it's going to be a good fit for Memphis Business Academy. I really do. And, I mean, we're talking about new people and things like that, but while we're talking about high school, let me please mention Coach Spears. Okay. Coach Spears, our girls coach. You know, Coach Spears has been going under the radar, but I don't know many coaches in the city who's made it to sectionals 3 years in a row. Our high school girls have been to the state sectionals 3 years in a row. I think all 3 years we end up losing the sectionals to the same team. I'm not all the way sure, but I believe it's Gibson County. But Coach Spears is running a really good girls program, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised of the product he's going to put on the floor this season.
What school did he come from?
Kirby.
Okay.
Yeah, he comes from Kirby.
Okay.
Yeah. When I say he comes from Kirby, I believe that's the high school he attended. He played at Kirby. As far as a coach, I believe Memphis Business Academy is the first school he coached at. I could be wrong, but I think Memphis Business Academy is the first school he coached at. His dad is the athletic director at Kirby. He's been the athletic director at Kirby for forever, you know. But I must mention Coach Spears also. Coach Spears has been doing an amazing job with girls basketball. I mean, I think 2019 city champs.
Yeah.
With Memphis Basketball Academy's girls. So he's been doing a great job. But one of the final pieces to assistant Coach Spears is middle school girls basketball. So middle school girls basketball was similar to the boys team because the position opened up. The coach at that time is still with us at our school. And she decided because of some other reasons and some other things like that and some other obligations that she had that she wanted to step down. So when she contacted me and let me know she wanted to step down, and I started thinking about, hey, middle school coaches, and Erica was the first person to come to mind, Coach Erica Woody. She's been working and assisting with the Lady Tar Heels organization forever. And they bring these little girls in at 4, 5, 6 years old with no basketball skills. And when you see these same little girls, along with her and director Rachel Dorsey, when you see these little girls again in 2 to 3, 4 years, I mean, these little girls can play. They do a wonderful job of developing those little girls. I don't have the I couldn't do it. I don't have patience. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Especially, I couldn't do it. But she's been doing a great job, and I noticed her, and I noticed the job that she's been doing, and I had a conversation with her, and she was excited, and she was on board. So we're bringing her in. She's the middle school girls head coach right now. So those were the three that everyone was talking about. We had a little buzz, and everyone was talking about. And it brought a lot of positive attention to my school district. Okay.
Well, Coach Anthony, I appreciate you for stopping by.
Yes.
And then giving us that background story. You have taught me a lot, especially from Manassas, because, like I said, I wasn't following high school basketball that much in between those years until I just really kind of got back on the scene around that 2017-18 era. And you have taught me a lot, and that school has produced a lot.
Right.
In the low key over those years, which is quite amazing. But like you said, those politics is hard to put light onto it.
Yeah. A large school in the city can do something good, and they're gonna get a lot of attention for it. Mm-hmm. A small school in the city can do something great, and it can go overshadowed like it never happened. But a part of the change here now is guys like you, who comes out and attends a lot of events, a lot of games, who knows a lot of kids, who shows like all of these schools love equally. It don't matter if it's the white stations, the white havens and things like that, the larger schools, or if it was a smaller school like Middle College, Mace, other schools, guys like you all come out and you all show all of those schools love, all of the kids love, with your highlight tape businesses and things like that. Guys like you are making a difference when it comes to that area by coming out and promoting all schools, not just select schools. They come out and promote all schools. So we really appreciate the work that you're doing. Really appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate y'all.
Right. Let me say one more thing before we get out of here. You remember I was talking to you about the one coach who hadn't been announced yet.
Okay.
At our school, and he's doing a great job. I've been excited. We started middle school football. Okay. In our first season at Memphis Business Academy, and we hired a coach. We didn't have a middle school team, so we had to hire a coach. Okay. So we hired a guy from the community. His name is Coach Lee Berry. Okay. Coach Lee Berry has been coaching football. I mean, I don't know how long he's been coaching football. He's been coaching football forever, but Lee Berry is one of the most known guys out in the Fraser community. Our school is in the Fraser community, so like at that point there was no better fit than to try to bring Lee Berry in. And from what I'm observing at the football practices and things like that, I really believe like our football team is going to have a really good season. Really good. I made a post about it. I didn't say that they was going to do this or that, but I made a post about it, and I was just like, middle school football loading, because I was very excited. I actually made that post from out at observing their practice that day and seeing the things that he had them doing, seeing the passing game and stuff like that. We talking about middle school kids. Like, I'm not used to seeing middle school kids, do a lot of these different things. He had some high level stuff going on, and he has 2 amazing assistant coaches with him. And I didn't bring them in. He actually is the one that brought them to me. And just so happened, both of these coaches are Manassas graduates as well. They played football at Manassas also.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to like that one. That he's the only one that hadn't been talked about much. He's kind of on the shy side about me. He likes to be under the radar. Yeah. He don't like a lot of attention and things like that. So, but I did want to, make it known that he's over there now and he's doing a really good job with our middle school football team.
Okay. Well, once again, like I said, Coach Anthony, I appreciate you for coming by. And hopefully later on through the year or maybe next year, since it's getting close to the end of the year, we can get you back in here again, and maybe you'll have some more news coming up for people out there.
Right. Anytime, man. And if you call me, I'm coming, man.
Okay.
Anytime. Like I said, I respect your work and the things that you're doing out here for these schools and for these kids.
Okay. Appreciate it, sir. So, like and subscribe, y'all, and tune in.